Each year, the Municipal Engineers Association surveys users of the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment and produces a monitoring report. These reports include detailed clarifications or amendments which address issues that were identified during the review. A complete copy of the annual monitoring report can be viewed at www.municipalclassea.ca. In 2011, an amendment to the Municipal Class EA changed a number of items in the project schedules. An explanation of these changes follows. The objective of this module is to explain the contents and implications of the 2011 amendments to the MCEA 2007, as well as the clarifications made. Minor amendments are administrative changes to the text in the Municipal Class EA to add clarity to the section. Also, sometimes the wording in the Municipal Class EA is not amended, but a clarification is issued to further explain the intent of the section. These are approved by the Director of the Environmental Assessment and Approvals Branch. A major amendment to the Municipal Class EA can remove or change the process for a certain type of project. Major amendments are approved by the Minister of the Environment. In response to monitoring results and stakeholder feedback, the MEA submitted a series of amendments to the Minister of the Environment. These included changes to Section A.2.9, the section on integration with the Planning Act, and to Appendix 1, the project schedules. As well, a number of minor changes have been made to clarify issues. Section A.2.9 of the Municipal Class EA has been rewritten to better explain integration with the Planning Act. Please view the separate training module on this topic. The 2011 amendment to the Municipal Class EA includes changes to the schedule for a number of projects or activities, including bridge structures over 40 years of age, streetscape projects, localized operational improvements, roadside parks, new culverts, retirement of facilities, and patrol yards. In Appendix 1 to the Municipal Class Environmental Assessment, in the Project Schedules section for municipal road projects of the 2007 document, there is a section on page 1-4 called Tables. These tables are used to categorize a project into a schedule. Each schedule designation, A, A+, B, or C, provides an associated EA process to reflect the level of complexity and potential environmental impact of the project. The road project tables refer to a cost limit in millions of dollars for each schedule that, if not exceeded, would categorize a project of that description as being a Schedule A, A+, or possibly a B. If the capital cost of a project would exceed the cost limit, the project would require a designation as a Schedule B or C, depending on the project description. As indicated in Appendix 1, these threshold cost limits are reviewed and adjusted on an annual basis. With the approval of the 2011 minor amendment, the annual adjustment is now based on the MTO Composite Price Index. At the time of printing in 2007, these cost limits were $2.2 million and $8.7 million. These have now been adjusted, and the 2011 cost limit thresholds are $2.4 million and $9.5 million. Cost thresholds will be in effect from January 1st to December 31st of each year. The cost limit threshold in place at the time a project is initiated shall be the cost threshold used to determine the applicable schedule and process to be followed throughout until the completion of the Class EA process. The new cost limits will be posted at www.municipalclassea.ca each year. Previously, streetscaping projects were Schedule A+ or B, depending on the cost of the project. Streetscape projects are more of a local interest rather than of an interest to the province. Impacted stakeholders should be notified, but the final project details should be decided locally. Streetscape projects are now all Schedule A+ projects. Examples of streetscaping projects include projects such as landscaping, the installation of decorative lighting, and the installation of benches. When the MCEA was first created in the 1980s, 40-year-old structures were structures that predated World War II. Construction techniques and material of that time were often unique, and many of the structures are historically significant. During the 1950s and 1960s, many new structures were constructed in Ontario, and most of these followed standard templates. Even though they are now more than 40 years old, they are not historically significant. Structures that satisfy the screening criteria have been predetermined to not be historically significant and are therefore Schedule A projects. The 40-year-old threshold is an indicator of potential when conducting a preliminary survey for identification of cultural heritage resources. While the presence of a built feature that is 40 or more years old does not automatically signify cultural heritage value or interest if the property or facility in question meets the criteria in Ontario Regulation 9/06, it is a cultural heritage resource. For detailed information on this topic, view the Heritage Grid module at www.municipalclassea.ca. Intersection improvement projects are of local interest rather than of interest to the province. Impacted stakeholders should be notified, but the final project details should be decided locally. Intersection improvement projects are now all Schedule A+ projects. Municipalities commonly establish parks for the community. Roadside parks or picnic areas should follow the same local approval process. Roadside parks and picnic area projects are now all Schedule A+ projects. The technical requirement for the new increased-sized culvert are confirmed through the Certificate of Approval process. The actual construction of the culverts are of local interest rather than of an interest to the province. Impacted stakeholders should be notified, but the final project details should be decided locally. Culvert projects are now all Schedule A+ projects. Retiring a facility removes the impact of that facility. The community should be notified of retirement so they can be involved in a local decision regarding plans for any cleanup and the future use of the site. Retiring a facility is now a Schedule A+ project. Examples of facilities that may be retired include a road or a pumping station. Patrol yards and maintenance facilities are required for road, water, wastewater, and transit systems. Expanding existing or constructing new facilities can impact nearby properties. Municipalities routinely process and approve applications for commercial/industrial projects with similar impacts, relying on their planning controls to ensure facilities are acceptable. Municipal patrol yards and maintenance facilities are considered Schedule A projects provided they conform to the Planning Act and other requirements. The 2011 amendment to the Municipal Class EA also included a number of minor amendments and clarifications. The installation or replacement of standby power equipment is when new equipment is located in a new building or structure. This work is now subject to a regulation, Ontario Regulation 116/01, and so is a Schedule A activity. In Appendix 1, Municipal Water and Wastewater Projects, under Wastewater Projects, projects involving dams and weirs include Schedule A, 13, reconstruct an existing dam or weir at the same location and for the same purpose, use, and capacity. Schedule B, 19, works undertaken in a watercourse for the purposes of flood control or erosion control. And 25, removal of an existing weir or dam. Schedule C, 10, construct a new dam or weir in a watercourse. The dams and weirs referred to in these sections are flow control structures located within a watercourse. Any outfall structure at a treatment facility or lagoon would be part of that treatment facility or lagoon and would not be considered a dam or weir within one of these sections. Septic tanks need to be cleaned out regularly. Normally the contents, septage, is removed by a truck. While the septage is being hauled, it is considered a waste product and subject to the associated regulations. However, when the septage is offloaded, it is considered wastewater, and holding or treatment facilities receiving the septage need to be approved under the Municipal Class EA in accordance with the appropriate schedule definitions for public/private sector proponents. Section A.2.2 describes Phase 1 of the Class EA process, identification and description of the problem or opportunity. Proponents are reminded that in determining what the project is, i.e., the scope of the project, that will be undertaken, proponents are not allowed to break down the project into its component parts or phases, with each part or phase being addressed through separate studies or Class EAs. This would constitute piecemealing, and piecemealing is prohibited. In addition, proponents are reminded that the activity with the highest schedule determines the EA requirements, i.e., if one component is listed under Schedule A, and another under Schedule B, and another under Schedule C, the entire project is subject to Schedule C. Section A.3.6 describes the consultation with review agencies. Instead of mailing notices of completion to the MOE/EAA branch in Toronto as per Appendix 6, all notices of completion should now be emailed to mea.notices.eaab@ontario.ca. A copy should also be sent to the MOE's Regional EA Planner/Coordinator. In Appendix 1, under Wastewater Management Projects, it reads, Schedule A, establish new or replace or expand existing stormwater detention/retention ponds or tanks and appurtenances, including outfall to receiving water body, provided all such facilities are in either an existing utility corridor or an existing road allowance. It is important to note that the definition section includes utility corridor means land or rights to land utilized for locating utilities, including sewage, stormwater management, and/or water services and/or appurtenances thereto, railways, streetcars, light rapid rail systems, and transitways. In this document, existing utility corridor means a developed utility corridor. Utility corridors are not always linear, and this means that expansion of a stormwater management facility is a Schedule A activity, provided no additional property is required. The following 2 points, Schedule B, establish a new stormwater retention detention ponds and appurtenances or infiltration systems, including outfall to receiving water body. Enlarge stormwater retention/detention ponds/tanks or sanitary or combined sewage detention tanks by addition or replacement at substantially the same location. Apply if property is required for the facilities. How do the schedule changes affect projects currently underway? If a proponent, based on the amendments made to these schedules, intends to change the schedule of any project for which a public notice, i.e. Notice of Public Meeting, has been issued under the 2007 MEA Class EA, notification of the change in schedule shall be made to the public and stakeholders involved in the process. If a notice of completion has been issued, the project should proceed as previously defined. How do I change to use the integrated approach? Notification of the change in process shall be made to the public and stakeholders, including MOE and MMAH. If a notice of completion has been issued, the project should proceed as previously defined. What is the review process for EA projects within an integrated process? For the proponents of projects using the integrated approach to have fulfilled the requirements of this Class EA, all necessary planning approvals must be obtained. Planning Act decisions may be appealed to the Ontario Municipal Board or the OMB. The OMB is the administrative body to which appeals of the land use planning decision, including the supporting infrastructure, can be made. If a project has been appealed to the OMB, the requirements of the integrated approach have not been met until the OMB renders a decision allowing the project to proceed. What, if any, documentation is required under the integrated approach? The Class EA documentation supporting a Planning Act application must be made available to the public. The amount of the documentation depends on the schedule of the project being integrated. Schedule B equals environmental file, Schedule C equals environmental study report. Proponents should refer to Section A.4 as a guide.